Buddy, I've been seeing quite a bit of questions about how I get legendaries. Like even in my leveling video when I was like level 40 something, and they're like, man, how do you have all these legendaries at this level, right? So I'm just going to explain to you all the ways to get legendaries in the best way that I know how. So first off, uh, I'm going to drop just the harsh, I guess, truth bomb. The only way to get a guaranteed legendary or a certain aspect is by doing a certain dungeon. And even then you don't get the legendary, you can just make it. So let me go over the Codex of Power real fast for those of you that do not know. So go here, look, so see you have dungeons, right? Let's see, let me try to see if I can find one that I haven't done. Oh god, I've done almost all of them. Okay, well anyway, at the end of a dungeon, you get rewarded with an aspect that goes into your Codex of Power for completing this dungeon, okay? Not every single legendary aspect is in this, but after you do it, it goes into your codex, so you can make this at any time you want at the minimum value of the affix, okay? So in order to use them after you unlock them, come over here and you go to the occultist. Once you go to the occultist, you find a piece of gear you want, throw it in here, click on Codex of Power, and you put it on. Now first thing about this is you might see that it says, you know, like 200,000. It does not take that much. If you're lower level, it's not going to cost you this much. It's only going to cost you veiled crystals and a little bit of gold. And this is going to be the most effective way to make a build without needing legendary drops. So if you're wondering, you know, like how do I have like certain defensives, right? Okay, well let's look at the defensive aspects. There's actually really good defensive aspects that you can get. So for example, aspect of Mending Stone. This one is ran in almost every single druid build. Well, not every single one, but anyone that like can run Earthen Bulwark like pretty much uses this legendary. Okay, even the Shred build I think uses this now. So the duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds, right? You can get this just by completing the sealed archives in dry steps. That's all you have to do. And then guess what? You find a piece of gear, a chest piece, legs, boom. Aspect of Mending Stone, congratulations. You now have an aspect of Mending Stone, right? That's how it works. That's what you got to do. All right, so that's how you get guaranteed legendaries. Now, if you just look in your codex, it'll tell you where to get them. So you just got to go look and see if there's one in there. Now, it does not have every single legendary in there. It does not. But it does have some, and it has a lot of good defensive ones. So if you're struggling with defense, you definitely it'll definitely help. And it does have some good offensive ones, but not anything super crazy. Like for example, it has a very common one that's used, aspect of retaliation. Your core skills deal up to 38% increased damage based on your amount of fortify. So that's going to help you out a lot. You know, like if you put that on your weapon and you run fortify and stuff like that, it's going to help you. Okay, next way, after going over that way, the next way to get legendaries that I have found to be the most effective is this: nightmare dungeons. Just nightmare dungeons, spamming them over and over and over again. Every single piece of gear I've gotten, like this for example, Tempest Roar, got from a nightmare dungeon. All the uniques I've gotten, primarily through nightmare dungeons. I have gotten, I think, maybe 1 or 2 uniques after a week of playing through non-nightmare dungeons. Alright, it's the reason why is because when you do a nightmare dungeon, when you do a nightmare dungeon, you're guaranteed a legendary at the end, right? When you do a regular dungeon that's not a nightmare dungeon, you're not guaranteed anything. But you are guaranteed 1 legendary at the end of every single nightmare dungeon. And you don't have to do hard ones. You can literally come here, craft sigils, right? You can make a tier 1 through 5. This is going to be like a level 53 nightmare dungeon. So you just have to have access to tier 3 in order to do this. Now, that being said, if you don't have access to tier 3 and the legendary that you're looking for is not in the codex, your only option if you're trying to power farm is to just go to a like super dense dungeon. Now there's a bunch of them. I think the ones that are popular right now are Champion's Demise and where is this other one? And then Go Around Canals. So just if you spam run those over and over and over again, yeah, you'll be able to farm legendaries. However, keep this in mind. You're not like there's a chance that not a single one will drop. You're not guaranteed to get a legendary every run. And this is also an extremely grindy and boring way to play. I have literally never done this. It is not my thing. It's not my cup of tea to do that kind of grinding. I would rather do nightmare dungeons because it makes it fun. It adds affixes to the dungeons. It makes it more challenging, more engaging. It's not just this mindless, you know, kind of spamming of the same dungeon over and over again. So yeah, But that would be the way to do it. Then another thing is once you get to another way I would also recommend actually is Hell Tide events. Every single time I have done a Hell Tide event, I have gotten like 6 or 7 legendaries. Now this does require you to have tier 3 open, and it also requires you to be able to survive in a Hell Tide area. So I don't know if it's like, so if you have a decent build together, you should be fine because it is going to scale to your level. Just make sure you avoid the boss like the plague because it's level 70. So yeah, but in the Helltide dungeons, they drop cinders, and then you look around the map. I don't think we have a Helltide active. No, we don't. We don't have a Helltide active right now, but what you do is you go to the Helltide event. It will be denoted by a little red like sword looking thing, and the whole entire map in that area will turn red, right? Don't be confused with this and this. These are PvP zones, but you'll see like a whole area just turn into a Helltide zone. You kill things, anything drops cinders. You take those cinders, you open up a chest. There's chests lying around that are marked on your map called like Tome of Protection, Tome of Weaponry, or Chest of Heavy Weaponry and stuff like that. And it takes a varying amount of cinders to open them. But when you open them, you have a decent chance of getting legendary. And not only that, it just seems like the legendary drop rate in Helltide seems to be higher than when I just run normal dungeons. Because believe me, I have ran almost every single dungeon in this game so far. Like you saw, I have 95% of the dungeons done, and there have been plenty of times when I have not gotten a single legendary out of a dungeon. So yeah, so the best thing I can tell you is play the game, do the best you can. There are builds. I've even posted builds that do not require legendaries to get going. They require no legendaries, so no dropped legendaries. You can't. I do put legendaries you can get from your codex in there because those are something you can guaranteed get eventually if you just work towards it, right? But if you're leveling, it's going to be best to have a build that works really well without legendaries as opposed to anything else. But yeah, so that's really all I have to say about getting and finding legendaries. I hope it helps. Hopefully I didn't discourage anybody, but just playing the game is ultimately the best way to get stuff. It'll drop eventually, I promise. It took me a week to get this Tempest Roar, and I've been playing an insane amount. So they will always fall eventually. You just gotta keep going, gotta keep playing, just gotta keep doing dungeons and doing whatever it is you really find fun. Anyway, with that being said, like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time.